It's been a long road for the James Bond franchise, as ever since MGM got acquired by Amazon, and then we had the producer herself, Barbara Broccoli, having to fight against Amazon for the creative control of this franchise. And still the fact that we're waiting for a casting of who's going to be playing James Bond, and the checklist just keeps on going. But it seems that we're getting a step a little closer to what we can expect of the next James Bond movie. And this time around, we have a confirmed director for this, and it's going to be none other than Denis Villeneuve, who's been chosen to direct the next James Bond movie, which honestly, it's one of those things where when I hear it, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I get it. I get why he was chosen. Denis Villeneuve is a phenomenal filmmaker and director. If you don't know his track record, he's worked on some big movies, such as The Arrivals, and most recently, his magnus opus, Dune. I mean, he's working on Dune Messiah. It's coming out next year. But he has proven to be a director that knows how to take high-concept, complex stories and really give them just the right amount of tone, mood, and I'd say just find a way to like make them digestible to an audience that maybe could find this overwhelming. He's just a very talented person, in my opinion, and the fact that he, of all people, managed to take the Dune franchise, which since its existence, Hollywood have shown that they are unable to adapt this book properly up until when he took the helm. And now we see Dune become this epic sci-fi saga that it has kind of like a golden age right now. It's been resurging, and people have a renewed interest and love for this series, and it's really thanks to the films that he directed. So him working on the next James Bond, it must be an honor to him, because he says in a statement that he describes Bond as a sacred territory. He emphasizes both the weight and responsibility and the excitement he feels for how he could shape the future of this franchise. And honestly, when we look at his track record, you know, he's got Dune, he's got Blade Runner 2049, he's worked on Sicario and Prisoners. He has a really just amazing ability to balance emotional depth with spectacle. And so it makes me wonder how he's going to tackle the next James Bond. You know, there's a few things you got to hit with a James Bond movie. A good Bond villain, a good Bond spy, the Bond girl, and the Bond henchman. I say these are the 4 pillars of a James Bond movie. You got to get them right. And so, of course, I think also there's definitely going to be a huge shift in tone, as we've seen with Daniel Craig. There, you know, the idea of the, you know, James Bond being a little bit too, how do I put this? But can be at times cheesy or too action-oriented. I think that's gonna slowly but surely kind of drop, and we're gonna get something a little bit more grounded, I think a little bit more nuanced and layered, and that's something we saw in Daniel Craig, but I think it's going to be pushed to 11 with Denis Villeneuve, who could perhaps consider doing more of a character-driven, more, you know, espionage-esque, you know, focused type of story. But of course there will be the action sequences, but I don't think that's usually the highlight of a Bond film. So honestly, what could he really offer to this amazing franchise? Well, I think he has the ability to really elevate it and give it just the right amount of meticulous world building and I'd say the undertones that it's needed to maybe give it the next evolution. Also, the practical effects, I'm sure, is something that he's going to consider as well. The cinematography, the music, these are all elements that need to work to really set up this franchise properly. And perhaps even the fact that maybe, just maybe, He could subvert us in some way. He could add something a little bit to this character that can evolve him in a way we don't expect. Are we also going to get a much younger Bond? Are we going to get a Bond who's been through a few missions, or maybe a late Bond? Whatever it may be, I think his approach to how he is able to take complex stories, complex characters and worlds, and find ways to make them resonate with modern audiences is his specialty. So it still does remain as to who's the next Bond cast. It's still unresolved, but the fact that we have Denis Villeneuve, of all directors, involved in the next James Bond movie, it gives me hope, gives me a sense of promise that we're in the right track, and that we're going to get something pretty decent. I'm super stoked for this. And what do you guys think? Do share your thoughts and opinion about this. And yeah, well, we're gonna take a bit of a break, and we'll be right back with more news and highlights right here on the Evening Buzz. Stay tuned.